Welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. For those who are new to the show, my name is Keegan Hipgrave, and if you haven't already, could I get you to jump over, hit that little like and subscribe button on whatever platform you listen to this podcast on, whether it's Apple, YouTube, Spotify. It's a great way for us to grow the podcast, grow the platform, and just have some incredible guests like I've got on today. In this episode, I'm joined by professional Olympic track athlete, Bree Masters. How are you, Bree?
I'm good. Let's not say I'm an Olympic track athlete just yet.
True, very true.
Touch wood.
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't actually sure how to introduce you. What's your title?
I'll just say a professional track athlete.
Professional track athlete, but potentially soon to be Olympic athlete.
Hopefully, cross my fingers.
How was the Bahamas? You just got back from the qualifiers. Talk to me about that. How was it over there?
Yeah, so in the Bahamas we had the World Relays, and to qualify for the Olympics we had to go to the World Relays to qualify for the event.
Gotcha.
So basically in the heats you had to come top 2 and qualify for the final to get an automatic selection. And then if not, you had to go to the repechage and then be top 2 in that to then be in the top 14 teams to go to the Olympics. And luckily enough, we qualified on the first day and made the finals. So yeah, the Australian team has booked their ticket for a 4x1 team at the Olympics, which is the first time in 20 years. So since 24 years, since the 2000 Sydney Olympics that we're going to have a 4x1 female team. So it's pretty exciting.
We haven't had one in 20 years.
24 years, yeah, because it was the last one was the 2000 Olympics.
How exciting.
Yeah, really cool. Well, sprinting in Australia at the moment is really strong. You know, we've got the 4x1 men's team qualified as well. So we'll have both teams at the Olympics.
Wow, that's so exciting. And because the way you found out that you guys won, you didn't know straight away. Because like when we were talking about it, it was just like, usually you would just see whoever, is in front of you, and you said the top 2 automatically go through, but you weren't sure who made it.
Yeah.
How did you find out?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool way to find out. So the race had finished. I finished up my leg on like the third bend, so I can't really see the finish line. Like I knew it was going to be close, so I was kind of watching the screen above me, and I saw Tori run that last leg, and it was incredibly close between second, third, and fourth. And I automatically thought that we got third or fourth, and my mind automatically switched to going, okay, we've got to refocus, we've got to go again tomorrow, we've got to be top 2 in that repechage to book our ticket to the Olympics. Yeah. So I kind of jogged my way around down the last straight and met up with the girls. They were all kind of sitting there taking their spikes off. Like no one was really ecstatic or kind of showing any hope for coming second, to be honest. Like I don't know, I felt like a little bit deflated that we hadn't got that automatic spot. But
you would have had another go later on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had another chance. So it wasn't the end of it. We got like some group photos, and then we got ushered off into the post-event media, which usually means, you go do your media and then off you go. So we just thought, oh, well, we didn't get there. And then as we're walking off into the post-event media, one of the officials grabs us and it's like, Australia, wait here. And I immediately thought like, oh, has someone been DQ'd, or like what's going on? Like, why are we waiting here? Yeah. And then all of a sudden we got told we got second, and it was a really cool moment to share together because we all just started screaming and jumping in the air. It was like such a shock. Like usually if, you're a clear second or first, you would find out individually wherever you are on the track. So it was really cool to be together to find out that. Yeah. And it was just all really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's I remember seeing your video that you posted. Must have posted like afterwards, like that night or that morning. I was like, how good, like we did it. But when I look at it, I automatically think that you're like automatically in the Olympics, like you're going away, but that's not the case yet. So your team has qualified to go to the Olympics, but then each individual spot needs to be made.
Yeah, so they haven't made final team selections yet. Gotcha. So the Australian 4x1 team has qualified, but they're still yet to pick those individuals who race. It's likely that it's going to be that team that did qualify the team. And we run the Australian record for a second time in the last 2 months. So it's a strong chance that it's that squad, but yeah, we just have to wait final selections.
How do they pick the team? Like, what's the process? Because I don't know, like for the average punter who doesn't know how it all works, like how does it work? Yeah,
so it's going to go off speed. So you want to be one of the fastest to make the team. We've also been training together as a team for a while now, so you also need to have really good relay skills. Yeah. And it comes down to coaches' feedback. We do a lot of biomechanics. How fast can we make changes? Who's got the skills for that? And then the selectors make their decisions. So yeah, there's a little bit that goes into it, but you just got to wait.
It's cool. How was the trip in the Bahamas? Like you said, it was beautiful, yeah?
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
Did you get to do much travel as well while you're there? Or was it like, nah, we're in and out, we've got a job to do, like let's get in, get out?
Yeah, well, I was overseas for 10 days, I think it was. So we went to Miami first and we based there for almost a week. Yeah. Just to kind of get used to the time zone. Miami was only like an hour flight to the Bahamas. So yeah, we were there for a little bit. We didn't really get to do a whole lot. We kind of stayed near the University of Miami. So it was really cool to go and kind of walk through the college and see what that life looks like. But yeah, you don't really have much time to holiday and live up life. Like it,
Yeah.
it looks all very glamorous, but
Yeah.
you're there to do your job and train and recover. You know, you don't want to be clocking up too many steps on your legs. So yeah, you've got to be careful with that. And then, you know, from Miami, we flew over to the Bahamas. I was there for like 4 days. So it was a very quick trip, but we were staying at a resort that was so beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the Atlantis Resort. There was fish everywhere. There was sharks. There was slides. So, you know, we all had to hold out on the slides until like the morning of leaving because it's probably not smart to do that before we raced.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very, very beautiful place. It was
Were
a
you
good
saying
time.
it was the same hotel as Mary-Kate and Ashley? The movie?
Yeah, and I didn't know that. Like, I loved Mary-Kate and Ashley when I was a kid, and then I got all these messages being like, "Oh my god, the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie!" I was like, "Wait a minute!" And I had to Google it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's right!" So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, oh, that's so fun. But like, how much did jet lag play a part in it? Is that something that you consider? Or is that why you guys go over so early?
Yeah, so you've got to kind of get into the time zone first, otherwise you're going to be feeling pretty flat and fuzzy, I like to call it. Like your brain's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So, you know, leading into the Olympics, we've also got a staging camp in Montpellier, which is where we went last year prior to the World Championships
So
in
you
Budapest.
kind of already know like what it's like, what it's going to be like.
Yeah. So that we went there last year prior to the World Championships just to kind of get a feel for it for the Olympic year. So I know what to expect if I'm there. But yeah, it's always good to kind of go over a bit earlier, get into the time zone, get training at the right times, and yeah, just so you can prepare best.
How's your jet lag now? Because you've only been back for like 2 days, yeah?
Yeah. Today I'm good. My Whoop says I'm 94% recovered. So we're on.
we love Whoop. I got my Whoop as well. When did you get yours?
A couple months ago, maybe
Gotcha.
2 to 3 months ago.
Do
Yeah.
you dive deep into the data?
I not too deep.
Yeah.
Don't want to like rely on it too much, but
Yeah.
it's so good to kind of monitor my sleep. Like I've realized how much sleep I'm not getting.
Really?
So like I think, you know, by going to bed at a certain time and waking up at a certain time, you know, I'm getting this many hours sleep, but turns out I've realized I wake up for like over an hour a night without even realizing, and you're getting less sleep. And like just knowing the in-depth results of my sleep, like your REM, your light sleep, your deep sleep and whatnot, and how that all benefits my recovery is really interesting.
Have you changed much pre-Whoop versus post-Whoop in terms of like nightly routine or like training load or anything like that? Has anything changed, or is it just a matter of being aware of it?
A little bit, to be honest. I mean, like, it's kind of helped me make decisions. You know, I'll go to training and be like, okay, my Whoop's telling me like I'm no good. Like my HRV's low and whatnot. Maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe I'm, you know, overtraining. And that usually replicates how I feel. Like I'm not just kind of going off the Whoop.
Yeah.
And I'll let my coach know, and he'll be like, all right, well, let's just like back it off like a little bit today here and stuff. So it's helping me make smart decisions with my training and really keep me accountable for my sleep. Because I feel like I'm so busy that like by the time I get home, you know, wind down from training, eat my dinner, pack my bag for the next day, I'm not getting to bed in time. So I've really got to kind of push that and make it work somehow.
But it's good to know. Like I got mine probably a bit over a year ago now, and I'm very much fall into the trap of like overtraining. Like I don't know if it might be the footy background, but it's like you always got to train. And so I said always daily. But then you look at it and it's just like you're in the red, like you're pushing it. You might have had like a bad night's sleep, but then you train anyway. But now I look at it and it's like, well, hang on, I've only got like not even half of what I should be getting. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe the next day I'm going to pull it back a little bit. It's super cool. Like I'm such a nerd when it comes to the data. Do you use the journal as well?
The journal every morning.
Journal every morning?
Yeah, I do that because then you can kind of monitor what is good for you, what's bad for you, like the screen time before bed, so bad.
Is that what gets you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my strain. Honestly, like on a race day, I think I hit 17 plus strain, and then I can also hit that on a day like today where I'm not training.
From
I think I'm just stressed. Sometimes I get like really worked up, like, and maybe it's not in a bad way. Like if I'm at work, sometimes it tells me I've had like an hour or two in the high stress zone, but I'm just really occupied and motivated by what I'm doing that I must be just like, I don't know. So keeping my strain and my stress low is so hard for me.
For those who are listening, we're talking about like the journal, like there's like a journal that you plug in at the start of every day, where you can plug in like anything that you want. Yeah. Like you'd be say if you did a sauna today, if you did an ice bath, if you worked late, literally everything, like sexual activity, like you can put anything in there. And then, so you said if you did it, if you didn't do it, how long you were doing it for. And then what it does, like over like a 30-day period, it'll tell you if this activity or if this behavior is actually like attributing like positively to your recovery process or negatively. So like you're big on your phone beforehand, before bed, and like worsens your recovery. Whereas like if you did like ice baths or sauna or eating good food, it's just like it positively impacts, and it might be like +2, +3, +4, whatever it is. But that stuff's so cool to see.
So interesting. And
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's benefiting me, to be honest. I
Yeah.
love it. Like everyone's like, oh, is it worth it? I'm like, I love it. Like,
100%.
yeah, it's just the 1%ers that can help you be better. So
Does your team look at that stuff as well? Or is it just personal?
just personal, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at kind of holding myself accountable and like speaking up if, something's wrong or I'm not well or like, yeah. So that's why I work with my coach with that.
I do want to dive into like training, Olympics, recovery, balance between work and training. I do want to jump into all that, but before we dive into that, kind of want to know what it was like growing up in the Masters household. Like, what kind of things were you doing? Were you involved in all different sports? Was it always sprinting? Like, what did life look like growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I did a lot of different sports.
Yeah.
Like pretty much every single one of them you
Really?
could think of. Yeah, I did a lot. My parents put me into everything. Same with my sister. And I guess it's good to do when you're younger. Stay active,
Yeah.
learn different skills. One of them being surf lifesaving, which I pursued professionally in the last couple of years. Just to be comfortable in the ocean and make friends and all that stuff. So yeah, I did that. I did a little athletics. Dancing was another big one.
Really?
Yeah. So dancing was like my everything. I wanted to be a professional dancer.
Which I didn't find out until this morning. With one of our head of content and producers, Chloe, she's just like, oh, Bree, like, Bree used to be like, do like dancing, like professionally, like took a year off high school. And I was like, how did I not know this? Like,
yeah, I didn't take a year of high school. That's fake news.
Fake news.
But I went to a performing arts high school.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I auditioned for Newtown Performing Arts High School, and I went there from years 6 to 12, and I did my HSC there. And a lot of my subjects were dance subjects. I did dance extension, and classical ballet. And I used to get questioned like, do you do anything other than dance at that school? I was like, yeah, I do normal school, but like
Do
I
math
can
and
choose.
English, yeah.
Yeah, I can. I dropped math in year 10, so we haven't done that for a
priorities
while.
though,
We don't
priorities.
do math. We're not good at that. We're creative.
we don't need to.
Yeah. So, yeah, I used to dance, and I thought I'd be in a full-time dance company. After school, I went to a dance course, and I didn't end up finishing that because I just kind of had this moment like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then all of a sudden, I moved to Queensland, and I've been running ever since. So
That's so wild. So growing up, the goal was dancing.
yeah,
What does it look like? Because the only dancers that I guess can see making a profession out of it is just like, I don't know, like going on cruise ships and like I imagine, I don't know, probably the worst person to answer that question, but like what was the goal? Like where do you go?
Well, for me, I really liked contemporary dancing,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be in like Australian Dance Theatre or Sydney Dance Company, and yeah, that was kind of my goal, to be in a dance company and go around Australia or internationally and perform. And a lot of my friends went on to do that.
Yeah.
Some of them went on to the New York City Rockettes, backup dancers for singers. So that's more the commercial side, but I was more into the contemporary side.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really get to think more into depth about it, but when I was at school, that's kind of what I dreamt of doing. So
Gotcha.
yeah, a couple of them went on cruise ships too. So yeah, there is all those avenues.
And then so what was the switch to go over to beach? How did that come around?
Yeah, so obviously I did surf life saving from when I was a kid, and I did the athletics. So, running's always been in my foundations. But I got good at surf life saving around age 13. I won my first Australian beach sprint title. I was the youngest to ever win an Australian title because I competed up in the 15s at the time. And, I kind of had a moment like, oh, that was cool. Like, when you're winning stuff, you're like, oh, I enjoy this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You got that little spark. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I was always a little kid as well. I was always kind of getting beaten by all the taller girls, and then all of a sudden I started to grow, and then I started to see results. And I still enjoyed it. It's funny that I say this, but I hated training. Like I absolutely hated it. Like my dad would be like, "Bree, training's on." I'd like lie to him and cry and be like, "No, it's cancelled."
But you don't strike me as someone who hates training now.
I love training.
That's what I mean. Like tell me more.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I just didn't really like running a whole lot. I don't know. I just was so focused on dancing that like, I don't know, I didn't really have a passion for running, even though I was like quite good at it. It's bizarre how like I look back on it now and how times have changed. But yeah,
So your parents can like obviously encourage you to keep training. Like there was times where you didn't want to train, but they encourage you to keep going.
Yeah, correct. Like never pushed me too far or anything, but like, yeah, I guess that any good parents would do.
I did squad, like swimming squad. Did like surf life saving as well, but did swimming squad. And this like you swim big Ks, yeah? Like did you do the swimming as well, or were you just sprinting?
Yeah, I did swimming.
So-
yeah, Dad's a swim coach now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
4:30, 5 o'clock starts in the
I didn't do that.
morning. You didn't do that?
Nah.
I remember thinking, I was like, what kind of parent would want to make their children swim at 4:30 in the morning? I was like, I'm never letting my kids do this. Like, but then I look back and I think so grateful that they like not push me, but encourage me to do it, to be like, no, this is actually going to help. And like, in terms of like training now, like off-feet recovery, like it is such a great thing. Like being comfortable out in the surf, like with surf lifesaving, all these little things are so beneficial going forward. So I bet you're like happy that we stayed with it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny. Yeah, you look back and you're like, damn, I'm grateful they did that.
100%.
And I know that when I become a mum, like I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, very excited. So like, and so you did surf lifesaving for a number of years, and because you only jumped onto track like.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago.
What was the switch?
Yeah, so it's funny because people are like, oh, like you've only been doing it 4 to 5 years. Like, how have you made world championships? I've always been running.
Yes.
To be clear, like it's always been there, just on a different surface. So, yeah, I did surf lifesaving. I moved up here in 2013 after school, and I moved up to the squad that I'm still at now. So I'm still out with the same coach.
Yeah.
It's been 11-year relationship, so cool to do everything together.
Same coach as beach sprinting versus track.
Yep.
How does that work?
Well, it all crosses over. Like most of my training was always done on track and still is. You know, I still train with the beach squad at Kurrawa, and most of our training is all done. They do the similar training to me. So
Really?
yeah, it's just, you know, towards, you know, competition season, they'll do a few more runs on sand and kind of get familiar with that surface.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is done on track. So yeah, there's not much you need to change well, for me, I had to change a lot because you start like adapting to sand. So on a track, you need to have good dorsiflexion, so that's flexed feet.
Yeah.
On sand, you have plantar flexion because you're like digging your toes into the sand. So trying to change little things like that. You've also got to think about like quads up and being light and skimming across the sand, where the track you've got like a bouncy surface to use. So you want to be putting heaps of force into the ground. So if you're putting force into the ground on sand, you're literally going nowhere. So there's little things that you need to change to be more efficient on the track versus the sand. But yeah, the training is still fundamentally the same.
How does that look from a training perspective? Like what does a week look like or a day?
Now when I'm in track?
Beach versus track.
Oh, it's the same.
Same?
Yeah, everyone's doing the same.
Even though it's different surfaces?
Yeah.
Surely there's got to be some minute differences though.
Not really. I mean, yeah, it's just the foundation of it is just running. So it's all just done on track or grass. And then, yeah, like I said, like the beach guys will do maybe 1 session, 2 sessions a week. They're also doing beach flags as well.
Yeah, okay.
And they'll do some sessions to kind of adapt to the sand. But yeah.
Because you're having so much success in the beach, wouldn't you just automatically stay with beach? Like why did you go to track?
Yeah, so after I moved up in 2013, I had a few years that were incredibly tough. I had appendicitis in, I can't remember, I think it was 2012, like
Sorry,
this the year
what's
before.
appendicitis?
Appendicitis? Your appendix?
Your appendix, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just where it gets inflamed and infected and it can like explode, and that's when it's like quite dangerous. Mine actually exploded as they were taking it out. So I spent like, usually with appendicitis, you'll go in, you get it out. It's probably like 2 days in the hospital and off you go back home. I was there for like over a week because it had exploded when they were taking it out. So I had a tube in my stomach. It was like this clear tube of just like disgusting fluids next to me.
We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. It was a very interesting, like someone came in next to me and had their appendix out and they were in and out within like a day or two. And I'm like, why am I still here? But yeah, I was really unwell with that and I lost like a lot of weight.
Gotcha.
It really, really rocked me. So the next few years after I'd moved to the Gold Coast were really rough for me. You know, I was like shining as a child and then I had like this dip in my career and then I had to kind of work my way back up. And I feel like as a child, I was kind of running on like talent. So those next few years really like put the work ethic in me and taught me how to like train for what I want. And then by 2015, I finally got back on the podium. I got a 3rd at the Australian Beach titles in the sprint. And yeah, it was like, I think I cried. My sister's like, why are you crying? Like, you've been here before, but it was just like the appreciation for what I'd been through and how hard I'd worked to get back up there.
Yeah.
And then the next few years to come, I achieved many more medals. I got to represent my country a few times. I won a World Beach Sprint title. And the last thing on my list was to win an Australian Open Beach Sprint title because like for so many years I raced up an age group and I got second, third. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like my track career is repeating that because I love getting second or third. But yeah, I won that in 2019 and it kind of like put the icing on the cake for me. And it was almost like, what's next? I'd won a world title. Like I'd kind of done everything. We don't go to the Olympics, so there wasn't really like much else to keep me going. And at this point in my career, I was like, maybe I need to go get a job, go to uni, like figure out life after sport. I'm not really making much money in this sport. Like maybe I got to switch on, we got to go buy houses and yada, 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 that type of thought. And around this time, I'd also met my fiance, Matt. He's a track sprinter.
Gotcha.
And, I think a lot of my teammates, coach, Matt, they were like, oh, we can't see Bree go now. Like, she's only 23. Like,
Yeah.
and
But that's such a young age to have done everything you've already wanted to do. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So
but yeah, I didn't know there was more that I wanted to do at
Yeah,
this point.
yeah, okay.
So like, you know, people always ask, so did you always want to go to the Olympics? I said, well, yeah, to an extent, like, you know, you watch it on the TV and whatnot, but it's like, it wasn't a realistic goal for me because my sport didn't go to the Olympics. So I'm thinking, oh, well, that's never going to happen for me, but how cool if it did.
All the Olympians that we have spoken to on this podcast is like they've seen a clip of Sally Pearson or Michael Phelps or like some sort of like, and I imagine it's probably the same with like the Matildas now, like in the last year or so, but they had a vision of them when they were younger and they were like, well, that's it. Was there any sort of thing where it's like, oh, it could be cool to go to the Olympics? Like, was there anything growing up? Or
There's
not
nothing
really?
that really stands out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you watched all these athletes on the TV and it was
Yeah.
so epic and amazing to watch, but I never really had like a vision of like, yeah, that's me. I'm very realistic with my thoughts. So maybe back then I was like, oh, that's a joke.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
And as I tell you how the story goes on to getting into track, like I
Yeah.
did have a bit of that, you know, attitude of like me, Olympics, like
Really?
that's not me. Like I'm not good enough to do that. So yeah, after that, Matt was coming to Queensland. He was living in Melbourne at the time. He was coming to do a track race up in Brisbane. And he's like, why don't you come do it with me? You train on track, like just give it a go. And like, obviously I'd done track throughout my whole schooling career, but at this point I hadn't done it for 8 years. And I was like, okay. And, you know, I could have done this earlier, but maybe I didn't feel comfortable to do it. You know, having Matt there, it made me feel comfortable. So yeah, I went on up and I ran 11:63 on my first race back, which was obviously a PB I hadn't run in 8 years. And it was mixing it in with some of the best at the time pre-Tokyo Olympics. So like a lot of my teammates and stuff like, you could make the relay for the Tokyo Olympics. And I'm sitting there going, what?
Hang on.
Like I didn't even think about this. Like, and I'd started uni at this point. So like I was already, you know, on that pathway to kind of like getting a job, moving out of sport. And it was so exciting because I was in this new atmosphere where I had no expectation. No one knew me. Like, you know, in the end of my beach career, it was like, oh, Bree Masters should win everything. Or like you get that pressure. And it was really nice to kind of step away from that and try something new.
I imagine it's probably pretty humbling as well, starting not from the start, but kind of.
Yeah. It was actually, I miss it. Like now it's 5 years in. I still kind of feel new, but I'm like, I missed that first year. Like it was so thrilling just to kind of like grab something and just go and give it a go. So yeah, I really encourage people when they ask me like, oh, do you think it's too late to get into track sprinting? I'm like, just go and do it. If you want to give it a go, give it a go. You might surprise yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And so it just took that little day with your fiance Matt to be like, oh, actually, you know what? There's something here. There's like, you could kind of like spark something almost.
Yeah.
So what was next?
I went to the ACT State Championships, which is in January.
Sorry, after you dived into that, you're automatically in, you're sold? Like that's...
On track?
Yeah, on track.
I wouldn't say I was like automatically in. I was just kind of, oh yeah, we'll just keep giving it a go, like and just see what happens. I was still trying to do beach at the same time, but that quickly stopped because I was like, whoa, this is too much. So yeah, I went to the ACT State Championships in January and I won the 100 and 200 meters there. And then shortly after that, I was invited to my first relay camp with the Australian team. So then I found myself in the first leg of a relay, never passed a baton before in my life. And I'm like, this is so stressful. So yeah, it all happened very, very quickly. And then, you know, Tokyo obviously got pushed back. This was start of 2020, end of 2019. Obviously got pushed back to 2021. So, you know, we were 0.06 off making that relay team. So yeah, it was unfortunate because, you know, how we qualified this year at World Relays was a similar process that year and we weren't allowed to travel because of COVID and the Australian government on all the rules and regulations about going in and out of the country. So it made it really hard for us to qualify and we had to try and qualify in like the next two best spots. So they take 14 teams from World Relays and then they have 15 and 16 have to be fast times. So yeah, we were chasing, we just missed out. It was really disappointing, but it's really exciting to see a team qualified for this one.
And that's what I mean. Does that, I want to say hurt, but does that like kind of disappointment kind of fuel for the next one? I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but does that help?
Of course. In anything though, any disappointment or setback you get, I feel like it like fires you up for the next. You know, I've been injured a few times and at the wrong time and, you know, example, hamstring tear, 8 weeks out from nationals that same year in 2021. So it was the Olympic year. And, you know, it was really hard to sit out of most of the domestic season and watch everyone else race and, you know, gain points for qualification. And then I was like, no, I have to be patient. I'll come out at nationals. I ran a PB at nationals and I got second. So
can we zoom in on that for a second? Because I know you touched on it, you brush over it, but I can imagine like the lead up to, you know, the big race and then doing your hamstring, like what what does that feel like? Because did you do it? It was like just before, yeah?
Oh, I tore my hamstring again last year, and
Yeah.
that was a day before I was going to Europe.
This
was upsetting.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even tell you when I did it, where I did it. It was just one morning I was bending down to pick something up off the floor, and my hamstring felt like a little weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, like once you've done your hamstring, you kind of know what to look out for. And I was like, something feels a little off. And like, you know what? I'm going to Europe tomorrow. I better go and see my physio whilst I'm at the gym.
Just before World Champs.
A month or so before World Champs. Yeah. And you know, we examined it, and he's like, you know what, Bree, I think you need to get a scan just in case. Like, you're about to go to Europe, you've got no support over there. It's expensive to get MRIs overseas. And I'm like, okay. Like, whenever I hear the word get an MRI, it's like not good news. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't want one.
Yeah.
So I went and got that, and then results came back that afternoon, and I had a grade 1 hamstring tear, which is best case scenario hamstring tear wise. So it was very, very small, but it still puts a bump in the road. And you know, I just bawled my eyes out because I felt like I was in amazing shape. Like, I was ready to go and race in Europe. I was so excited. It was my first European season, you know, going around the circuit. And then I got this, and I was like, awesome. I didn't even know when I did it.
Yeah.
So, you know, the next few hours and morning I spent on the phone to Athletics Australia and my support network, and then, you know, your best choice is to stay home, Bree. Like, you know, you've got your support network here, you've got your coaches, people you know best, like, you know your own routine here. You know, going overseas is not going to be smart, even though I was like, no, I can rehab this on my own. It's only a grade 1.
Yeah.
But I ended up making that decision to stay home, which was tough, but a smart one to make. And, you know, I stayed home for, I think it was an extra 2 to 3 weeks. And then I flew over, and my first race back, I ran 11:26, which was almost my PB. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger sometimes, and puts a little bit of fire in the belly. But we were all good in the end. We competed at the World Champs, and we moved on. But yeah, there's always something that throws a curveball at you, and
gives me goosebumps, hey, because I know what it's like to tear a hamstring. It sucks. What I can't wrap my head around is, like, you obviously tore it, like, but then to run a PB as well after that.
It was almost a PB.
Almost
after my
a PB.
grade 2, I ran a PB. So maybe sometimes it helps you, like, it's just your body saying maybe you just need to take a little break for a minute. And I feel like hamstring rehab is probably one of my favorite injuries to rehab, because you can it sounds weird.
I've never heard anyone say it like that.
Well, in my career, I've always had feet injuries. So
Gotcha.
I'm always in a moon boot, which means that I have to get on a bike and run in a pool. And that is depressing. Like, I feel like with a hamstring tear, you're encouraged to get straight back out there, whether it's going to be quite slow, but you still can run, and you can still keep a bit of that sanity. Because, like, if you take running away from me, I'm like, I feel really off. So the fact that I didn't have to, like, get in a pool or on a bike, and I could actually still run. And, you know, you see progress quite quickly. In some cases you don't, but I did. And so it was quite motivating to kind of see each time I was getting faster and faster, and I was hitting goals, and I had to hit a certain % effort before they were like, yep, you're good to go to Europe. So yeah, it's a weird thing to say, but it's nice that you can continue to keep running, and you kind of see progress quite quickly.
Is there any things that you learn throughout these processes? Like, I know overcoming injury is a huge part of, like, building resilience and building confidence. Is there anything that, like, you take away from these, like, past experiences that stand out?
It just builds a lot of strength and grit in you, to be honest. Like, you know, the path is never linear to success. You plan it out. Like, this year I've had all these plans, and not one of them have gone to plan. And, you know, you've got to kind of rework that and be okay with it and pick yourself back up. But yeah, I don't know. I've just learned a lot of mental resilience and a lot of skills that I can take into my professional life after sport. I think, athletes learn a lot throughout their process, and it just makes you stronger.
What kind of skills?
Like, you know, you have to put in so much dedication to your training and whatnot. You're going to take that into the workplace. You learn how to be in a team. You learn how to deal with setbacks. You're always going to work in a timely manner. Like, I have so much tenacity. Like, I just want to achieve and get things done. So there's so many skills that you can take into your professional life. And
you've gone through, like, quite a few experiences. I'd love to talk about, you talked about your hamstring injury, but also when you got sick. Like a month ago, just before going over to the Bahamas. Can you touch a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I got sick the day of the national finals. Honestly, I hadn't been sick in over 10 months.
Yeah.
And I woke up, like, I felt amazing on heats day. I was like, yes, like, we're peaking, like, let's go. Had a really good heat run, and then that morning I woke up with a really rapid head cold, to be honest. My Whoop was like 21% recovery. By the next day it was like 11, and I was like, all my metrics were out. I had temperatures like just completely clogged up. I was like dizzy. I was trying my best to have like as much caffeine, and what probably made me dizzier, to be honest, and try and push through. But yeah, that was tough to swallow, because it screwed up my results, and now I'm paying for it. So yeah.
So what does it look like now? You have to obviously like keep qualifying, because I don't quite understand the point system. You said there's like it's a point system to qualify. Can you run me through that? Like how
so
works?
individually there's a point system, and there's a Road to Paris rankings. It's on a website. I'm currently ranked 42, and with my nationals result, unfortunately, I didn't get selected for a team that I would have. I don't necessarily need, but would have been really beneficial in terms of points. So it doesn't mean that I'm not going to make it, but it just makes the path a little bit harder to qualify. So I'm probably going to have to look at going over to Europe and kind of getting into meets and running really well and placing well to get those points. So basically the point system works. It's your 5 best results and points overall. So it comes into like the time of the race, the wind, the placing, and the level of competition. So you want to be targeting high level meets, running well at them and placing well to get better points, which then ups your average points. It's kind of confusing. Not many people understand it. My coach probably doesn't even understand it. I take the lead there and go, these are the races that I want to do. So I got myself into a good position, but we've got to push a little bit harder to do it now.
I'm fascinated about your mindset when you get sick, because I remember one of the first episodes that we did of Keegan and Company was with Mac Horton, the Olympic gold medalist for the 400 meter freestyle, I think. One like all-time great, man, like such a good dude. But what he talks about is just like, you've got like 4 years, like you've got like all this time just like building and grinding, and you've got to be on in one moment, like one race, and that's all you've got. And then I look at like yourself, who you've got like this incredible race coming up, and then the day of you get sick. It's like, fuck, like why me? Like, and I don't know, like, where does your head go? That's what I'm super fascinated.
My head goes straight to that. Like, why? What did I do to deserve this? Like, what happened? And I think it was the flight on the way down. There's a few people on my flight who got sick as well. So they called it like the deadly Queensland flight. And I wore a mask everywhere I went in the Bahamas, because I was like, I'm not getting sick. So that's probably the measures that I'm going to take from now on. But yeah, it was honestly like, why? Like I've worked so hard, and like I've been patient for this moment, and I wanted to peak here. Like, why did I get sick now? It's just the way it is, I guess, sometimes, and I didn't really like go, oh, I better not run today, I better pull out. My mind went straight to give it your best shot. Like, I contacted my team, I had like my dietitian there, my strength and conditioning coach, and they were all helping me, sugars, coffee, food, like anything to help me get through that day. And, I did my best. I did the bare minimum in my semi-final, because I knew that maybe if I had enough energy, it was, going to be for the final. And just had nothing. Hey, like, and it was almost like I described it as like you're in a dream and you're trying to run really fast, but you can't. That's how I felt. Like I just got out of the blocks and I just had nothing left in me to give. And, it was a tough one to swallow. And, now I look back and I'm like, shit happens. But like, you've just got to kind of, it's in the past now, just got to pick myself back up and keep charging forward.
How do you move on? like in that moment where you're like, fuck, poor me. Like I
cried. I cried.
That's fair.
And that's okay.
100%.
But I like to kind of give myself like, that 24 hours to kind of like just let it out.
Yeah.
Recognize that it happened. Like, it's okay to cry and it's okay to feel upset. It means you care. Like,
100%.
Like that's what Matt said to me. It's like, it means you really, really, really care about this. Like it's fine. And I was like, yeah, it's all right. But then, you just kind of got to look forward and try and push forward and make that a different outcome for the future. So no point dwelling on what's happened in the past now.
And it also makes for a really cool story. Like, I know we were talking about it the other day on the phone. I was just like, yeah, but I mean, like, it's obviously so hard, and like the hardest thing you've gone through is the hardest thing you're going through, and it's shit and it's annoying. But I mean, like, when you have success, and like when you're going to have success, because I'm manifesting for you at the moment, like when you have the success, it's going to be so cool, because you've had all the hurdles and speed bumps to get where you are now. Yeah.
It's like my boss says, it adds a page to the book.
Like 100%. I can't wait to read that book, by the way.
I'm not writing a book. Maybe I will. No. Imaginary book.
Yeah, I love that. In terms of like what's next or what's coming up, like obviously the Olympics is the goal. Like that's where we want to get to. What are the big steps that you have to put in place in order to get there? Because we're only a couple months away.
Yeah, it's coming around really fast.
It's
hey?
quick, yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking me out. So yeah, basically I just need to keep running fast. So I'm going to go to Japan this weekend and race in an A-level meet there. So hopefully I have a nice fast run there. But yeah, looking to go over to Europe and compete over there in that circuit and just, get better points to up my ranking and hopefully qualify individually. And then, just await team selection for the relay team. But I think it's really about staying healthy, to be honest. We don't want any more hamstring tears. Touch wood. But yeah, so much can happen in 2 months. So yeah, just staying healthy, training hard, and just kind of, having the mindset that I'm in the team. So that when that selection does come around and you are in it all comes very last minute.
Yeah.
So you kind of just got to be ready to go. So yeah, you got to train and think like you're in the team.
How last minute? Like night before? Week before?
Oh, no. Well, like say, world champs.
Yeah.
For Oregon 2022, I got employed by my employer in March that year, and I said to them, best case scenario, I will make the World Championships and Commonwealth Games team in July, August.
Yeah.
And I will literally find out within a few days' notice, and then I have to jump on a plane and I'll be gone for like 2 months.
Was this at LSKD?
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, okay, like, well, we'll sort it out when you get there. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, at least I was up front. And like, because that's always the most daunting part is telling your employer you need to leave for like 2 months.
100%.
Yeah. So that time came around. I'd found out about Com Games earlier than World Champs, but Com Games was after World Champs. And with World Champs, the points quota doesn't like close until like a couple weeks out. So I found out I'd made the quota and I got the call up and I had to leave within like 3 days to get to the staging camp in Seattle. So like, it's not like right before the comp, but like the process happens really quickly. Yeah. So yeah, you just got to be ready to switch on and get ready to go.
Cool. I'm actually leaving in a couple of days. Is that all good?
Yeah, literally. I'm like,
how did they take it? Were they good?
Yeah, he's like, Keith was like, whoa, like you weren't kidding when you said like you had to leave really quickly. I was like, yep.
I think that's such a beautiful segue into like, I guess the balance between training and work life. Like I look at someone like you and I get on really well with a lot of the crew at LSKD, like some of the greatest crew. I went in there the other day and I was telling you when we're having coffee before, it's just like walk in, such a great energy, but also like so many great people in there. Like it's such a good vibe. How do you go with the balance between like training to try and get into the Olympics, but then also like working as well?
Oh, it's so hard.
Really?
Yeah. But I also like feel like I thrive off being really busy, as weird as that sounds. A lot of people are like, how do you do all this? I was like, I don't know. I just really enjoy it and I love being busy. Like I can't sit still. Like I'm like, I could be doing this, I could be doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is incredibly tough. I work 25 hours a week, so just part-time at LSKD. And then, I run my own social media and sole trader stuff like brand collaborations, content creation. So there's that on the side. And then there's also athletics. So
you say you work 25 hours, but I know for a fact that's wrong because I called Michaela from LSKD and I was just like, hey, I'm doing a podcast with Bree. And I was just like, obviously just like picking her brain. She's just like, yeah, look, I don't know how she does it. Like she's part-time, but she definitely does not do part-time hours.
I'm so always on.
You're in the Bahamas, like taking calls and you're like, just go race. Like just go do what you got to do.
Yeah, I will literally work from anywhere, wherever I am. And that's what I'm grateful for with the flexibility with LSKD. They support me 100% and they let me, be flexible with my hours. Most of the year is very rigid and structured. But there are times where I've just got to go overseas real quick and then I'll be back. And they let me work flexible. So
what's the role that you do with LSKD?
So I work in public relations. So I'm best to summarize it. I'm in charge of all the media stuff. Gotcha. So yeah, I do a lot though, like a lot of random things. I'm dabbling a lot in the marketing side of things, like billboards and TV campaigns and all that stuff. So it's really cool just getting thrown into new things and learning new things. And yeah, I love my job.
Something you enjoy, like obviously, like that's, I always think like life after sport. Do you think that could be like a potential avenue for life after sport?
Yeah, of course. I love marketing. I love being creative. Not sure where life's going to lead me, but yeah, at the moment, I really, really enjoy it.
I think about the balance all the time, especially in not only like the female athlete space, like AFLW, NRLW, Super Netball, Olympic sports. A lot of these crew, like they're training at such a high level. Like you got to be on in one moment, like full-time training load, but then also you got to juggle like family life, like work, got to have an income, especially with how expensive everything is at the moment. Like it's hard to do. Any tips that you can give like the up and comers, like who are just trying to make it work? Like any advice that you
Honestly,
could give?
just work hard and grind. Like you can't get somewhere without doing anything. So yeah, I feel like I push myself a little too far sometimes, but I'm so hungry to succeed. And you know, help myself achieve these goals. So like I will work so hard to help send myself to these places. And it is a very, very hard process, but you just kind of got to push through and put your head down and give it a shot. Cause like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know how to give you tips because it's just so hard.
But outside looking in, it kind of looks like you're designing the life that you want.
Yeah, it does. It all looks very glamorous on social media. I tell you.
Yeah, but like, is that something you're conscious of? Like, is it like I want to work for a brand like LSKD. I want to do, you know, I want to go to the Olympics. Like, outside looking, like I said, outside looking in, it looks like you do this intentionally.
Honestly, I am creating the life that I want to live. Yeah. It's just like not a glamorous process. You know, people think you just like fall into it, but you don't. There's so many years behind me of work and connecting with people and pushing myself to my limits. And I feel like it's only really happened within the last 2 to 3 years that, you know, I've got a job role that I really love. Like I used to work at the cafe at the surf club, like walking so many steps a day. It was sweating. That was definitely not the life that I wanted to live. So yeah, I feel like I just kept grinding and connecting with the right people. And yeah, life is definitely where I want it to be right now. And I'm really, really happy with where I am. But yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and commitment.
It's like the overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah.
Like people will look at you now, like they might have just found you on social media and they'll be like, oh, look at this girl. Like she's just thriving. It all just like seems to work out for this girl or for anyone. Like copy and paste that to anyone who's doing like being successful. But it's just like, no, look at the last 10 years that they've been doing. Like,
exactly.
Like you've been like, you would imagine have to go to uni. You were still like beat sprinting. You've been like stacking days for over like 10 years. There was a guy, I forgot his name. I want to say it's Paul Carter. He's like a basketball player. And he's like, he has this beautiful quote about like stacking days and how it's just like, if you want to get anywhere, it's kind of like layers of pain that build a mountain, and every action that you do is going to like positively get you to where you're going to be. So it's like every day, like these micro actions. And then after a 10-year period, you've got like this mountain, and that's the success. And the idea of stacking days is so cool because it's consistency. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. Well, take it if you want. Like,
yeah. Definitely take consistency. It's the same in the track world. Like, you know, people are like, how do I get better? It's like, well, it's years on top of years on top of years of training. Like you can't just train for a couple months or a year and expect to be at an elite level. Like, you know, all the athletes that are performing at an elite level have been working for years. And, you know, maybe people look at me and be like, she's only been here 4 to 5 years. But there's been so many years before that I've been running and putting in the work and all the commitment and whatnot. So yeah, you can take that into any aspect of life.
Yeah. It's super inspiring. Like I see it in you, and I see it in a lot of like super professional athletes, and they don't get any accolades at the start. Like you're not going to get not that you do it for the accolades, but that once you get to that 5-10 year, like, because you've been doing it for in sprint, like track for 5 years, but sprint sprinting forever.
Yeah.
But what I really love, especially what Mick said when I was on the phone to her from LSKD, she's just like, you are very in tune with like inspiring the next generation coming through, and you guys did like a workshop not too long ago, like a track workshop.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was at my home little athletics club, so it was really cool to go back there. Yeah. Jason kind of proposed the idea to me. He's like, do you want to go down and do like a little track clinic kind of thing? And I was like, okay. It was our Just Keep Running month.
Gotcha.
And we'd launched a new running collection, and I was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. Like, I don't know where I'm going to fit that in, but let's do it. And somehow it all worked out, and I had 100 kids show up.
How cool is that though?
And it's just really, really awesome. Like, you know, on social media you get messages and whatnot, but it's so cool to see it in person, and how many people I am inspiring by just doing what I do. And like, I like to say, you know, if there's one thing that I would want to do in this sport, it's to inspire the next generation and the ones to come. So yeah, that's really, really important to me. And it was so awesome to be able to connect with little athletics kids from my home club where it all started. So yeah, it was awesome.
I got goosebumps like thinking about that, because I saw, like, I've seen the clips, like I've seen the photos and video, and like all these little smiles on these girls' faces. It's like, imagine in like 10 years time, in like, if one of those girls go on to kick or boys go on to kick, and they've got like the photo of like you and them together. Like, do you think about, like, that would be so cool?
Yeah,
like,
I've had a couple of friends who like have photos with Sally Pearsons or whatever else, and then now they're being professional. Like, oh my God, I'm here. Like,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had the exact same photo. There was I think it was a photo of like me and a guy called Corey Parker, who was like the captain at the Bronx. And I got a photo when I was a 13-year-old kid with like a little rat's tails. This is gross. I was a gross kid. Like I'm not digging up that photo for anyone to see. But it was just like, I had this photo, and then I did my first like NRL preseason at Bronx when I was 17 or 18. and then there was like a photo of like me and Corey like training together. And I remember like comparing the two. My dad might have sent it to me, and I was like, that's cool. Like that's cool to look back on, because like you're a role model for like so many young crew coming through. And that's why I guess I'm really grateful for you to come on board like a mental health podcast like this, and be so open about like injuries that you've gone through, and figuring out the balance. Because I remember when we sat on the phone not too long ago, you're like, you didn't think you had any like mental health issues or struggles?
Yeah, like I guess when you think mental health, you're like, oh, like really big issues. But honestly, being an athlete is a whole mental health issue in itself.
Yeah, well, it's a whole spectrum, yeah.
Yeah, it's so incredibly tough. Like I said, the path is never linear to success. There's going to be bumps in the road. Like it's going to be tough. And there's so many things that I haven't shared on my social media. Like there's so many things that happen behind the scenes. Like, you know, days you wake up, you're like, I'm not motivated to do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But you got to dig deep and just push through. You know, there's things that happen in your personal life. Just so many things that just out of your control that you still need to manage and push through to succeed. So yeah, it's not a easy thing, but
it's cool. But it's cool to see. Like, and I imagine there's going to be so many people who take some key takeaways from this conversation and compound it, and it's going to go such a long way. So very grateful to have you on, because you are such a role model. Like look at all the little groms that came to like your hometown, like super inspiring, super cool.
So wild to think. It was so cool.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about like life after sport. Like you're obviously getting married at the end of the year. Like
wild.
How are you feeling? How's it all?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Wedding planning is like,
it's good.
Yeah, everyone's like, how's it going? I was like, yeah, I've already planned it all. Type A bride.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we got engaged September, so it was the day after I got home from Europe last year, so I was jet lagged. We love doing things jet lagged, like this podcast.
Sorry about that. How did he do it? Just quickly.
So he told me he'd been planning it since January, but he did the good old like, oh, I can't afford a ring.
Yeah,
like so
good.
And like I didn't know when it was gonna happen. I didn't have any pressure on it. I don't think an engagement really changes anything in my relationship. So I'm not like one of those girls being like, I'm waiting for a ring.
Yeah.
And to mention, Matt is 3 years younger than me. So like I also didn't think that like he was probably at that point in his life. Clearly he was. He'd been planning it for a while. He'd asked my dad, and he told me we got notified about our Com Games bronze medal whilst we were overseas, because that was a anti-doping dispute kind of thing. So we'd only just got notified that we'd been upgraded, which was really exciting. And, you know, been to the world champs and lots of successful things had happened. So he's like, oh, like when you get back, I'll fly. We do distance at the moment, by the way. He lives in Newcastle. He's training down there. Yeah, just like a sacrifice we needed to make in terms of his training and my training, which is fine. So he flew up to pick me up from the airport. I'd been away for like 2 to 3 months. We hadn't seen each other for a while. And he's like, let's go out to dinner. We'll go picnic and dinner to celebrate like all the success you've had. And I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Didn't think much of it. I was like, yeah, whatever. Now I look back on it, I'm like, a picnic and dinner. I was like, that's a lot of food. Anyway, so the picnic was never a thing. He said that I needed to be ready for 3 p.m. or whatever time it was. And I got ready quite quickly. I'd done a photo shoot that morning for work. Jason found out I was home and was like, quick, you need to get into this photo shoot for these sunglasses. And I'm like, okay. Matt had like told Maddie, who's our other athlete coordinator at LSKD, do not let LSKD book Bree for any shoots. I've got this whole plan. So like some people from work knew. Anyway, Maddie's having a heart attack because like the team's gone behind her back and booked me for a shoot. It was in the morning, so it was all fine. So like I had my hair like slick, like running look. I'd done a bit of work that day and I'd been like, oh, shit, I got to get ready like half an hour. I just chucked this like dress on that I thought was like picnic and dinner worthy, which ended up being like the perfect outfit.
Gotcha.
And I just whacked my hair up in a bun. So like I wasn't like really prepared for anything. And I'm sitting on the couch and my housemate was trying to delay me because, so he did this big setup at the Spit, which is in Main Beach. And he'd hired a photographer and a company to do all this setup, and it was like a massive love heart of roses on the beach and like lots of roses like stuck in the sand. And apparently it was so windy that they were all like blowing away. So the guy's like stall. So like I'm like, I'm ready, and he's like, I didn't think you would get ready this early. Like we don't have to leave yet. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. I'm jet lagged.
We can go whenever.
I know. It all worked out perfectly for him because I'm jet lagged, not really thinking into things too much. So I'm letting my housemate know about my trip and whatnot. And he's like, all right, like let's go. So we get in the car. He puts on the maps and it goes like the longest way possible to the Spit. And I'm like, why are we going this way? We could go this way. And he's like, I don't know. Maps just told me this was the fastest way. Meanwhile, he's still trying to delay the timing because the roses are flying away. And then, you know, we get there and I'm like so dazed out, just looking out the window. And one of the funniest, randomest things I said was like, wow, that picnic hut has a really cool roof. And like, meanwhile, next to me was this massive love heart on the beach that I didn't even notice until I got out of the car and I noticed this guy was like holding a camera at me and I'm looking at Matt going, what's going on? Is this for us? Because I knew that I was looking for a picnic setup.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah. And I'm like, wait, so this is not for us?
What do you mean,
And he
man?
started laughing.
Yeah.
And then we walked down to like the love heart and then, he proposed to me there. So it all came at like a massive surprise. I just started crying because obviously jet lag, tired from my trip. Like it was like a really happy moment, but I was also like so tired. So I just like let it out.
Yeah.
I look back on the videos and just me like sobbing. He's like, don't cry, I'm crying.
Yeah. Oh, very cute though.
So then we went out to dinner. So that's how that all happened. And
So cute.
shortly after that, I was like, crap, I need to plan a wedding.
Yeah.
And I've always had like in the back of my mind that I wanted to get married after an athletic season because I'm at my fittest and my tannest. And is it going to be one of the last moments where I'm going to have like a fit body? Because like when I go have kids, like who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to look good at my wedding. So I was like, all right, well, let's have a look at the end of next year. And if everything goes to plan, it's going to be probably the best year yet.
Yeah.
So we booked November 23rd this year. Just in Broad Beach. So I'm really excited. But I planned like all of it before the new year because coming into January and April, you know, racing really ramps up. So I was like, I don't really want to be trying to focus on wedding stuff when I've got another job to achieve.
Yeah.
So I planned most things prior and we paid all the deposits. Now it's just, you know, getting the rest done.
Just get there and enjoy.
Yeah. So I'm really excited and it hasn't really been a stressful process other than like what other brides say. They're like, oh, it's so stressful. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like,
do you think about, like kids, like his kids on the cards?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't know when they're coming, but I'm 29 this year. Last year in my 20s. It's scary.
Hey, everyone like that. Just quickly, everyone that I talk to that are in their 30s, like especially like in footy, because there's usually a heap of crew that are a bit older. Everyone says 30s are the best years.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait.
20s have been testing.
Yeah,
they've been fun, but they've been testing.
But hey, we learned a lot though.
We learned a lot, and I'm grateful for that. It's made me a better person. I think stronger and better.
I think so. I think that 100%. It's like you're older, you're 30, you've got a heap more life experience. You might have you might be a bit more stable and safe. You might have a little bit more money in the bank. Like I don't know. I'm excited for 30s. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I've always said I wanted to have a kid before I'm 30, like one. Yeah. But then like also with running right now, like I feel like I'm not ready to finish up. Like, you know, as old as I am, you know, usually your career is kind of ending, but it's like I've only been in it for 4 to 5 years. Like I feel like I'm still just beginning.
Yeah.
Matt is totally ready to have kids.
Yeah.
He loves children. Gotcha. He will kill me for saying that because he'll deny it to
right, mate. Not many people listen to this podcast anyway. Sorry, mate.
I said be proud of that. No, he is deep down proud that he really wants kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the time is right, they'll come.
Could you do another cycle?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I've thought about this.
Yeah.
The good old, like, have a baby, have a comeback.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know that. You're in PR. You said it, not me.
I don't know. So, you see so many inspiring women in, athletics. I've seen, like Shelley Ann Fraser-Price, Alison Felix, like they're great athletes, but they've gone away and had babies and made an incredible comeback. And, I've heard rumors that like after having a baby, you're like 10 times stronger and you can handle more training load. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I want to try it.
These are the studies and these are the things that I want to know more about because like similar to netball, AFLW, NRLW, there are girls who are having babies and coming back. So I'm curious to see what it could look like in the athletic. Well, it's obviously working before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really like expecting it to go the opposite way. Like it's like if I make the decision to do that, I need to be ready for it not to work out. But I'd love to try. Maybe that thought might change in a couple days, weeks, months. But I'm not opposed to, I don't want to put off having children. Like, we get a small window as women and I really want a family and I look forward to the future. But also at the same time, I don't want to give up my athletic career too early that I have regrets.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens.
Do you think about what type of mum you want to be?
I don't know.
I wonder if you'll be like the competitive soccer mum, like on the side, like go little Bree, like, or if you'll be like the relaxed, like what do you want to push them into sport? Because obviously, like you got so many great traits from being in sport, like it's very similar. Like I cut from team sport and individual sport, like the traits you get are amazing. So for me, like I'd want to push my kids into sport, no matter like whatever sport it is. But do you think about it at all?
I haven't really thought about it, but I think I'll still be the parents that my parents were to me.
What were they like?
Like encouraging, like I said, not pushy, but like, I don't know, just encourage me to really give it a go. And I think sport is very fundamental in a child's upbringing.
Yeah.
Especially like say surf lifesaving, like just to become comfortable with the ocean. Like in Australia, we live around so much ocean. So I think it's really important to learn those skills and be comfortable and, you know, to learn how to be fit and active and lead a healthy lifestyle. I think that's really important. But yeah, sport teaches you so much, and I definitely think I'll be putting my kids into it. And I'm not going to force them to do anything they don't want to, but like definitely encourage them to go the right path.
What do you think is the biggest takeaway you learned from sport?
Oh, that's a deep question. I don't know. Nothing ever goes to plan.
That's why that's fair.
Honestly, I've done like 3 different sports, and I've just kind of just rolled into the next one, places that I never thought I'd be or never thought I'd see, and whether it goes south or goes north. But it's a roller coaster.
It is roller coaster, not just like professional sport, but sport in general. Yeah, like you don't make the junior team, how you react, or you get like a little bit of success, and then that set you up for the next 10 years. But I look at someone like you, like incredibly hardworking, right? Like not only in sport, but how you've taken it into LSKD and your professional career in PR, resilience, overcoming injury, perspective, like, you know, the whole thing. I think there's so many cool traits. So hey, Bree, I'm so pumped that you came on. Like, I think this has been such a cool conversation. Before we wrap things up, is there anything you think we missed, or is there anything that you'd like to touch on before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. You covered a lot of my life.
We went through the whole thing.
I mean, there's probably a lot of missed parts, but good summary.
No. Well, hey, again, like, thank you so much. Like, you are like, it's super inspiring, and I am super grateful to have you on board. I can't wait to see what the next couple months look like. I'll be cheering on from the sideline. So all the best going forward. I'm super pumped, Bree.
Thank you so much.
Easy.